Hi friends, good morning, good evening, and wish you very happy Pongal, Makar Sankranti, Bihu, or Happy Lori. This is the one festival I think the entire India is celebrating with the different names. But I'm back again on my Friday evening as I committed with you for my open live session. So on the behalf of entire Eisenbridge team, I would like to welcome you all on live open session episode 23. So, guys, again, the agenda is same, nothing different. It's driven by you only, not by me. Whatever questions you have, you can just post your questions in the comment section. No matters whether you're watching from YouTube, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Just post your questions. I'll include your questions, and Saket will answer your questions. Hi, Saket. Welcome, and thank you very much
Hello.
joining with me again. So, Saket, tell me how you wanna start the session.
Okay, so we wait for few queries to come up. We do have an offline query. I think it got posted on YouTube. We can start with that. And primarily, the question is what does a Scrum Master, like how the Scrum Master serve to a development team? What the development team can expect from the Scrum Master. So like last time we were discussing scrum master serving the product owner, and I think this time we can start with scrum master servicing the development team. So the whole idea as a scrum master is a leadership role, and in general we expect leader to help the team to unblock their ways so that team can achieve their objective. So the same remains true with the scrum master as a leadership role as well. So primarily one has to enable the team so that they can get their job done, and whatever comes as a blockage to the team, the scrum master or the leader is expected to remove that. You may call that leader project manager also. Now, other than removing the issues or blockers or impediments or whatever coming in between, the leader is also expected to create an environment which facilitates healthy interactions, knowledge sharing, decision making, and creates an accountability in the whole team. So Scrum Master is accountable, or a leader is accountable for ensuring accountability. So you create an environment where people feel own the work. They really hold themselves accountable if things goes differently. They learn from their mistake. They continuously retrospect and commit to the quality and take the things forward. So enabling the accountability, enabling the environment, removing issues. The third possible area one can look into is that creating the external or shielding from external interferences. More or less it can be seen as a blocker removal or impediment removal or issue removal job as well, so that people can focus on their own their desired goal. So that's the another possibility. Enabling team to get their job done better. So the continuous assessment of what is working and what is not working, but with the help of facilitating retrospective, and championing the continuous improvement. Any leader should do it, and so that the scrum master should also do it. Focusing on intrinsic quality. So the way we studied in our the scrum master job analysis thing, one thing which was coming pretty commonly when it comes to the development team was that ensure build in quality. So scrum masters are expected to do whatever it takes to ensure that there is a commitment for intrinsic quality of the product. So by way of creating the enough visibility in what is working and what is not working, by way of continuously improving their processes, making the whole team reflect on definition of done. So these things are possibly also there. Now many time when you look at a job descriptions, yeah, this is like a higher level. The job description will also talk about effective facilitation. So facilitation and effective coaching whenever needed. So facilitating various events in order to enable the team so that they get things moving. So good facilitation skills in a planning meeting, in a daily scrum, in a review retrospective, all places are needed. In reality, over a period of time, Scrum Master may start encouraging the other team member to facilitate rather than they alone facilitating all the time, but they still remain accountable for creating that environment which facilitates the interaction. So the accountability of facilitation still remains, though it can be done by other team members as well. So that's there. Coaching as a part of assessment, as a part of individual growth, helping people to find out what they should be working on, moving them forward in their technical mastery, in their subject matter mastery, in their Scrum mastery journey, and helping them to improve continuously. So overall development of people. So as a simple way, any leader should be developing their team members. That's the whole idea, and helping the team members in achieving their overall objective. So that's something we can put as a Scrum Master role. Yeah. Okay, so we have another question. IT professional having 10 plus years of experience in administration support, want to move to a Scrum area, which certificate is better, CSM or PSM to start Scrum journey? So one thing is that when you want to move towards the Scrum Master job, you need to acquire Scrum knowledge. That's the key thing. And sometimes you also want to demonstrate that Scrum knowledge with the help of certification. And like Certified Scrum Master or a professional Scrum Master are the possible alternative. Uh, it also depends in which particular market segment, in which area you are targeting. In our observation, when we primarily talk about the Indian market segment as well as US market segment, we do observe the Certified Scrum Master is asked in more jobs over PSM. Again, it could be a different market can have a different observation, but at least these two markets, 2 months ago when I did that job analysis study, that is what I have observed, yeah, in these areas. So, but many cases they are also represented as a slash, so either CSM or PSM, both will work. So I can say pick up the one which you feel is easy to get started with. Pick up the one which facilitate you getting started with your Scrum Master journey. We conduct Certified Scrum Master, so we don't conduct PSM. So we might be a little influenced for promoting our product. That's a possibility. But in general, I see the Certified Scrum Master is a good starting point. Now, on top of that, the certification could be a 2 days program, both of them, and may be followed by a little bit of a test. In case of PSM, the test is little tricky, whereas in case of a CSM, the test is pretty straightforward. So whichever way you can navigate both the certificates. But afterwards, you may need to master your Scrum knowledge as well as get some skills which are needed for the Scrum Master job, like the one which we discuss about few things like facilitation, coaching, impediment removal, stakeholder engagement, communication engagement, ensuring transparency. So those kind of skills, that kind of exposure might also be needed. So I do encourage you to look for some opportunities internally if possible, and that can help you in brushing up your facilitation skills as well. So Scrum knowledge with facilitation skills and people management skill should be good as a foundation for you to get into a leadership role. So think like that when you are getting into a Scrum role, you are getting into a leadership role other than Scrum alone. Because many times we start, individual may start thinking, if I know Scrum, I should become a Scrum Master. That might be a good starting point, but it's a leadership role. Ultimately, it's a leadership role in a Scrum context. So you know what is how the Scrum operates, but you also need to know how do I lead people. So those two dimension needs to be taken care when you are focusing on developing yourself as a Scrum Master. Now, the Scrum Master is not unique profile. It has like multiple variations depending upon what type of organization you are targeting in. So based on your background and your target organization, you may need to acquire some specific skills as well, because it is not something which is universally common. Yeah. Okay, so we have another question coming in. I have an 11-year experience in testing. So CSM, SAFe Agilist, which is best for me? So see, the idea here is if you are coming from a say testing background, and you want to get into a leadership background. That's the leadership profile. That's the area. Yeah, you want to become a leader, a scrum master in the agile space. And I do see your follow-up comment where you are saying, my organization, we are following SAFe as a framework. Now, the second comment makes the choice very clear. So if your organization is focusing and using SAFe, then better you focus on safe way of doing agile. Yeah, that's the simplest explanation I can give. So safe way of doing agile, you can think of SAFe Scrum Master program, you can think of leading SAFe program. But if you are targeting the idea of a Scrum Master job, then you may focus on SAFe Scrum Master. If you are targeting generic profile in a SAFe context, could be a Scrum Master, could be something a specialized profile, then you can go for a SAFe Agilist or a leading SAFe certification as well. Yeah. So that is about your current organization space. Now, if you want to develop something over a period of time and you think that I want to acquire a Scrum Master skill and I may end up working in the environment where the SAFe is not used, yeah, then you may need to, at that point in time, or for that only, you may need to do for generic Certified Scrum Master program rather than getting into a specific SAFe based program. But as of now, looking at your organization following SAFe, I do recommend you doing SAFe based certification, and I do see it's a good opportunity. So as of now, the SAFe or a scaled way of working is pretty popular, and not many people are getting the opportunity to work in that environment as well as know it well. So if you are already working in that environment, you already have an advantage. Yeah, because many people are trying to get there. They are working as an independent team. They don't have an exposure in a SAFe way of working, and they are trying to find out how can we start working in a SAFe context. So you already have an advantage of working in a SAFe context. I think you should exploit it. You should put extra effort in preparing and learning about SAFe, and that can give you internal as well as external growth. So I recommend you pick up any SAFe certificate, maybe a SAFe certified Scrum Master, SAFe Scrum Master, or a SAFe Agilist. You can do little bit research more in case that is needed, and study SAFe well. That's something I can recommend. From our side, we do conduct these programs. We do conduct SAFe Advanced Scrum Master program as well. And we also have a 50 plus videos on SAFe. So if you go to YouTube, and since you are connecting through YouTube, you can search our playlist, which has around 60 plus videos, and sorry, 50 plus videos, and you should check all of them, yeah, because you are working in SAFe. So check those videos and pick up the right certificate. I think you have a good chance of growing your career significantly. Okay, so we explored three things by now. We explored the Scrum Master profile, we explored getting into the leadership, and the CSM relationship along with PSM relationship as well. And we also explored how to get into the SAFe context. Yes. So what do we do in a SAFe, and how SAFe can way of working can help you in growing your career. So we wait for a few more questions before we take the conversation further.
So, meanwhile, we are waiting for the questions, Saket. I have something to discuss with you. Okay, seems like this Scrum Master role is a hot cake in the market, and many people, many professional from the IT fields and some from the non-IT fields also looking for this profile. But I'm wondering why people are not thinking about the product owner role, agile coach role. What is stopping them? Why people are thinking about the Scrum role only? Is there enough information not available on the internet, or it's not a good choice to move on product owner or agile coach?
So, what I can say here is Agile Coach is anyway. So, if you need, say, 10 Scrum Master in an organization, you may need a one Agile Coach. So, that's overall the need will be less. That's the one thing, because not everyone will need an Agile Coach. And the second thing is it expects some amount of leadership experience, some amount of agile experience before you get there. So I see there is, it's going to be a funnel. So that's how it moves. Whereas a Scrum Master, project manager are the leadership roles. And when you have a team, you get into the leadership roles faster. So that's something is a good reason. Now, product owner, it tied up with business domain, it tied up with the requirements, and many time these if the organizations are working in a service space, they may have a client who is giving the requirement rather than the one who is sitting in the team discovering the requirement. So that also makes the product owner role a little bit more specific to the industry, to the domain, to the client, and that's why, relatively speaking, it's not that much there in quantity, because many service organization may not have a product owner. They just have a scrum master in the team, and the product owner might be sitting at the client side. So that reduces the quantity by say 50-60%, because there are a lot of organizations who are just focusing on delivering things. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Saket.
Okay. Yeah. We go to the question here. Pre-sales and bid management with 12 years experience in IT service industry. Now I want to move to delivery side as a project manager or a scrum master. What are the transferable skills which I need to polish? So I believe so a usual thing could be that you can pick up a job description of your target job and see what kind of a skills are asked, and then you see the gap. That's something is a good thing to do. Even if whatever I suggest, I do recommend you doing that ultimately, and finding out what is the right thing. But in general, what I see is that when you are focusing on pre-sales and bid management, so I do expect you having domain understanding, client engagement understanding, stakeholder management or engagement understanding, analyzing a problem and coming of a business solution. So that's something is a very good skill. Yeah. And I personally feeling if you have some specific domain experiences or specialization as well, then you might be a very you might see your skills are more and more relevant into product ownership and product management space. Yeah. So that is something. So you probably need to do that analysis and see what all you know, yeah, what all experiences you have, what all product you have pre-sold, what kind of a bid management you have done, and how that thing relates to uh, discovering the requirement and telling and communicating the development team to get those requirement developed. That's a one dimension. Now you can explore that if you feel no, that is too much into the a specific area, and many product owner roles also expect you transferring the requirement in a say IT language. So if you feel that is too much for you, then probably you can focus on a project management slash scrum master kind of profile, because especially if you talk about project management where we expect a little complex environment, even if they are using agile, your client engagement skills and communication or communication engagement and management skills, as well as estimation and planning, those skills will be pretty much in demand. So what you probably need to do is you need to fill the remaining areas. So see, a pre-sale activity or a bid management activity might be a short-term activity, and after that the execution and delivery part is someone else's responsibility. So you may need to bring some idea, some knowledge from that execution part. Say how the estimation gets done for execution, not for bidding alone. How the online or real-time feedback collection or monitoring is done when the things are getting executed. What are the possible challenges can come while doing execution? So you need to build that particular space. So you visualize the things which you have just pre-sailed, how it is really getting executed till the end. Education can help you. Some amount of exploration of the work you have done can also help you. Education like Certified Scrum Master program, as well as the PMP certification, can help you in getting those things done. So that's also a possible thing one can and do. So I can say the communication, stakeholder, domain understanding, business problem solving, those skills are ready made probably, and you need to additionally add, if you are getting into a project management space, the execution skills. If you are getting into a product ownership space or a product management space, then you need to add more domain requirement exploration area. So you work on that particular thing. Yeah. And that's the thing which we can. So I will go further. So I think if you have follow-up question, please post it in the comment. Okay, so here the question coming in: how many years of real-time experience is required for a certified Scrum Master to become an Agile coach? Um, so what is the range? Again, depend is an easy answer to give. So I can say that I do see a range which starts as early as 4 years. Now, it's not necessarily a scrum master experience only. You might have done something else which is about leadership and people management. Yeah, so say you might have led the development team, you might have led the quality team, you might have led the program team. Those experiences are also useful. So, and then you might have done 1 year 2 year as a scrum master in between here and there. So it is like overall expertise in agile environment and overall delivery and stakeholder engagement and leadership experience. So that's something is a one needed. And that count starts from 10 plus years usually you see on the job. So 10 plus years of doing these things is enough. Maybe 1 2 3 years of scrum master specific experience sometimes people ask. So when you have a 10 plus years, you probably start targeting a mentoring coaching role as a coach, and then you build up the skills like facilitation, coaching, acquiring more and more knowledge about the prominent ways of solving problem, agile ways of solving problem, non-agile ways of solving problem, lean ways of solving problem, various problem solving and frameworks, management frameworks can help you in positioning yourself for an agile coaching role. Yes, the tools and the certification like agile team facilitation and agile IC Agile's ACC, the IC Agile ACC certification can give you the foundational things, but yeah, after that you need to add the remaining things to make your profile ready. Yeah. Okay, so we go forward. So one is trying for a Scrum Master role, and one of the interview question is, how do you estimate timeline for a new project that you have when you have a brand new team? So see, I feel it's a project management question, not necessarily a Scrum Master question. And the question itself shows that you are doing a little bit of predictable way of estimation, predictable way of estimating requirement. So in general, the Scrum Masters are expected to work in the agile environment. Yeah, that's the first assumption. And in the agile environment, the things are expected to emerge. Yeah, we don't know how many items we will do and how long we will run. Usually the agile environment work is based on, we allocate some time frame and say, let's try it out for 3 months and see what will come next. That's a usual way of working, rather than sitting and finding out how many days or how many months of effort this thing will take. That's the usual way of doing. Now, and in the agile way of doing, the basic contributor of estimation is the team rather than the project manager or a scrum master. So scrum master, technically speaking, has no role in estimation other than facilitating the estimation rather than doing. So scrum master is not expected to do the estimation. Scrum master is expected to facilitate the estimation process, because scrum master may not have the desired knowledge of understanding the requirement as well as understanding the technical challenges and coming up with any specific estimate. So it is not related to a scrum master as a traditionally known name. Now, having said that, if the question has been asked, then it requires an answer. That's another thing. So probably you want to be clear that looks like we are not talking about a scrum master role. We are talking about a role which also requires estimation, yeah, in a way. So which also requires prediction. So something like this. Then, and if you feel that you want to target that role, then you use some of the project management technique, and you can clarify that yes, the initial level of estimate will be rough order of magnitude estimate, and then we will focus on having some understanding of a requirement, and then we are coming up with some understanding of our speed or a velocity, and I will facilitate people coming together to come up with at a high level requirements. Then I will work with the team to understand those high level requirement and come up with some estimation of the story points, and finally we will end up estimating how much work is there in this particular case. So that is a one possibility. The another possibility is that if my team is not available, then I might need to do it. Then I might use something based on my organization history. I will look what kind of a project my company has done, what kind of do we have a similar project before, and if yes, what happened in that particular project. And I might use historical data to come up with an estimate. So these are the possible things. So I can talk to the team, I can look at the historical data, or I can use some expert judgment. I can go to some experts, say system architect or someone, and ask them to put a number. But I think before giving these answers, you need to be clarifying that in general, the role of a Scrum Master is a facilitator rather than predicting the timeline for the project. Yeah. Okay, so that's something we can put in. Okay, so we have 2 points that do we need to have a Scrum Master after a few years? I don't know. So I think this will be a little philosophical conversation. We don't know it's there or not there, but in general, we work on the current state, and that's something is pretty much needed. So its idea is like this. Say, ideally you want to have, like in a project management term, we talk about 3 types of effort: discrete effort, apportionate effort, and level of effort. So let me explain one by one. So what is a discrete effort? Discrete effort is something which produce deliverable. You really work on something and you produce something. That is something needed. Yeah? So say a developer does the coding and coding produces something. That's a discrete effort. Now, apportionate effort is more about that you look at the output which is coming from the developer, and you test it, verify it. So ideally, you should not be verifying. If the developer does the thing right, then why you need to verify? But in a situation, you need to put some checks and balances, and whatever effort you are doing, that is an apportionate effort. Now, these are the 2 possible value-added effort. Everything else possibly can be avoided. Yeah. Now, then why do you do a daily scrum? You should not be doing daily scrum. You can directly do, every developer should know what they have to do. Or why do you do a sprint planning? Everybody should be able to figure it out what they need to do, and they can do themselves. Now, the time you are spending in a sprint planning, the time you are spending in a daily scrum is not a development. You are not coding at that point in time, but you need to do it in order to have a better understanding, communication with each other, because the software work is not something which is very crystal clearly separatable. So the collaboration, information exchange is needed. Now, this information exchange and collaboration, if this can happen without external facilitation, then you don't need any leader, be it labeled as a scrum master, be it labeled as a project manager. You don't need it. If it happens, if your team can do it, and especially if you have a 3-4 people team, it might not be needed. Yeah, if you're a small team, you don't need that kind of effort. But if you have a little bigger team, and people also keep moving in and out, and there are some kind of challenges and traction keeps happening, then you need someone to hold that thing together. Yeah. And many times that someone becomes a scrum master or a project manager, depending upon which kind of flavor people are using. Yeah, like any leader will try to have a minimum such kind of time, or minimum such kind of people who are doing just holding others together. Ideally they should, everybody should hold together on their own and deliver things. That's what every organization dream to have. But till the time that is not possible, we may need specialized people who are holding these guys together and facilitating the communication. Yeah. Okay, so how the journey moves from an individual after completing CSM certificator. I means, if I can throw some light about the future elevation, his or career growth, he can start working, and how possibly a scrum master career options and all. So in general, it is primarily driven by the type of products and the solution you deliver, and kind of exposure you get in leading and that particular and serving those particular teams. So if you create a good deliverables, a good kind of a product, and you participate in that, you get more and more opportunity to do a more challenging jobs. So as a leader, when I brush up my leadership skill, I facilitate various teams, and sometimes if I do it more and more better, my facilitation group or the area of influence starts increasing. So right now I'm facilitating 10 people, but I can facilitate 20, then I can facilitate 30, 40, 100, and I can facilitate the future leaders. So once I develop a mastery as a leader, then I grow leaders, and that becomes my role. Yeah. So in a simple word, be it a scrum master path, be it a project manager path, your path is, once you do good, you start growing leaders, and you, the more and more you grow, you have a 2 levels leadership growth, you have a 3 level leadership growth. So that's a possible path one can take. Now, what kind of a label with those paths will come? Yeah, there could be a agile coach label sometime when you are mentoring, coaching multiple agile teams, mentoring multiple scrum masters, you move to an agile coach, and later on, when you are mentoring agile coaches, you might label yourself as a senior coach or enterprise coach. That's a one possible way forward. Sometimes you remain in a delivery space rather than just doing mentoring and coaching, rather than just facilitating one team and getting value delivered. You may start facilitating multiple teams and jointly get the value delivered. So which is like a little bit more preferred way of working in the scaled agile framework, where we have a program management kind of a role called release train engineer. So that's another possibility. You can say, okay, rather than facilitating one team, now there are individual facilitators as well, but I am responsible for, as a 10 teams, as a 20 teams, they hold together and they deliver together. So that becomes the another a possible path. The third possible path could be a consultant's path. You can say, I'm done with the delivery or an in-house role, I want to become a consultant and trainer. So you may become an independent consultant and trainers also. Many times people, after playing a role in a delivery space, be it a scrum master or a project manager space, they come out and they get into a training and consulting thing, and where they just focus on a transformation type of job. So it is like taking an assignment, moving them from one way of working to another way of working, helping them in setting up the process, and then moving out. So that could be a possible path one can take. Yeah. So that's a possible thing. And usually when people move at a higher leadership level, they can do different kind of diversified leadership roles as well. Getting into particular business unit or facilitating another type of business is also possible. So that's a possible thing which a scrum master can do. Now, it is not necessarily that this whole path is emerging from CSM certificate. So this whole path is emerging from your excellence in scrum master role. So you can say, I do a leadership, and I keep my way of looking. Again, I'm not saying this is the only way of looking. My way of looking is that scrum master is a leadership role. So we need to focus on, okay, how as a leader I am working. And then I can say, okay, a leader working in a scrum context, that's the second thing. But overall, it's a leadership and enablement role. And I probably use that skill as I grow and develop more and more leaders. Yeah. That I can say here. We wait for a few more and then we move. Okay, so I'm just going back and checking if I am covering everything to just make sure. Okay, so a lot of career transitioning questions, and I can see more and more in most of our conversation, these questions keeps coming in. So yes, and I think my answer also keeps changing a little bit. So again, there is no absolute answer. Even we based on the new learning, and the learnings are happening all the time. So new ideas, new sharing may happen, but I do recommend individuals to do a little research, and one of the basic way of doing little research is uh, identifying the target profile. Check it on job portal, maybe check it on say professional networking site like LinkedIn, and see how the profile of your target profile looks like. Yeah, that's something you probably want to focus on. So that's thing you can also explore. Okay, so what is the role and responsibility of an agile coach? Is it different from scrum master? Now, depend in which organization scrum master. So it's very difficult to tell about role and responsibility just based on the title. Yeah, so there is a possibility in one organization, Scrum Master might be doing double role and responsibility than in other organization Agile Coach is doing. Yeah, so it is difficult to directly generically say. So we need to see who is doing what where. Yeah, because these things are usually coming from different organization space. That's the one thing. Now, unlike Scrum Master profile, which has a Scrum guide and which has some kind of roles and responsibility well documented, you don't have any framework appreciating, or most of the framework are not appreciating role called Agile Coach. So you don't find an Agile Coach roles and responsibility written in a Scrum guide. You don't find it in the Scaled Agile framework. Also, they have a SAFe program consultant, but they don't also have an Agile Coach. Now then you may wonder from where this Agile Coach thing is there. So there is a movement primarily triggered by a book named Coaching Agile Team, and then followed by the IC Agile running these Agile coaching certification and education program, and that created a enablement profile named an Agile Coach. Now I have written a little detailed blog on it because it's a little complicated. There are multiple types of Agile coaches, but in a simplistic way we can say that someone who ensures the agility in multiple Agile teams to start with, yeah, and is responsible, accountable for mentoring and coaching Scrum Masters. So you can say that you are the way Scrum Master is expected to mentor and coach team members. So similarly, you are expected to mentor the Scrum Masters so that they can maintain agility in their different teams. Yeah. So in that way, you are growing leaders. So the idea of Agile Coach is developing leaders. Yeah. Whereas the idea of Scrum Master is that leading, and the servant leading or facilitative style leading of their own team. Whereas the whole focus of coach should be how do I grow others as a leader, primarily as Scrum Masters as a leader. So you are in a job of developing leaders. Now, if you go a little more concrete, I do encourage you to check the blog. Yeah, if you just we can share it as a link as well in the chat area. But that's an interesting blog one can check upon. Now, if we go further detail, possible things. So mentoring, training, facilitating, ensuring transparency, coming up with those environment which facilitates overall agility, facilitating various interactions between different agile teams, and knowledge sharings amongst the different agile teams. So you can say that overall running community of practices, ensuring some kind of continuous improvement at an organization level, at a multiple team level. So those are the things which we can add to a possible Agile Coach role. So that's what I can say to start with, and I will share in a while the link of our blog which explains this thing in more detail. Okay, so what is Agile coaching? And then we have two blogs actually, and then we have a blog talking about role and responsibility of an Agile coach, and it's a pretty comprehensive one. So you can check that out in detail. I will just share the URL and also show you in this particular chat. Yeah, so here is the blog. The first one is out, and then we have the another one coming in, which is also available on the thing. Yeah, so these are the two possible blocks one can look into, and you can find more details there. Yeah. Okay, so we have a question. Need to understand about traceability metrics. Okay, for Agile project, is it same like a waterfall or a different way to follow? So we need to focus on what is the goal, why you want to have a traceability metrics. Yeah, why we had it in a waterfall, and why do we need in Agile as well if in case needed. So let's go back. In case of predictive life cycle, we collect the requirement in advance, and then we work on a detailed scope, and then in a phased manner we start working on execution and making those requirement reality. Now, there is a possibility that since the gap is huge, the collection of requirement and the delivery of deliverable might be delayed by 6 months, there is a possibility that things may get slipped here and there. So the predictive life cycle should ensure at each step we have a checkpoint which is ensuring, are we doing the enough design, enough test, enough exploration for a given requirement, and if yes, let's me check it out against each requirement. Yeah, so that is the whole idea of having those traceability matrices. Now in the agile way of working, since we are picking up a small requirement, only discussing that part of requirement, we are not discussing the remaining requirement, and we are demonstrating that part of requirement at the end of an iteration and taking the validation. I'm using the word validation, not verification, taking the validation from the stakeholder. So we are delivering things very, very incrementally. So things are becoming all the time visible, and if something is not done, then that can be visualized then and there. Because of that, there is a high probability that you don't need a traceability matrix, because you don't have a list of requirement to begin with first, and then you don't have a big cycle before you release the thing. So that's why you probably don't need it, and you have a different way of working. Now having said that, there is a possibility you might be having some compliance requirement. Yeah, you might be having some regulatory requirement along with some emerging requirement, and for those compliance requirement and for those emerging requirement, you might need to submit this traceability matrix to some regulatory body or some compliance body. In that case, you maintain in the similar way. So you show how a possible requirement is getting coded, getting tested, got tested, and how it got finally accepted, so that your compliance people can see those traceability. Because even if you are working in the agile way, those guys might not be coming very frequently to test that. They are again coming at an infrequent space, and in those environments, you might need the traceability matrix in the case of agile as well. Yeah. So if you are taking PMP exam, because we believe in hybrid way of working, consider that there is a possibility of having that particular document, that particular matrix in the agile way of working as well. So you do consider that. If you are generically asking, working in the agile world, then don't worry about traceability matrix. It might not be needed in the agile world. Okay, so what certification should be done for a new Scrum Master when you are not from a development background, but you have done your PSM1 certification? So it's good, you have done the first level certification. Now, why are you asking this question? Yeah, let me guess that. So I am guessing that you are finding, when you apply for a Scrum Master job or when you go for a Scrum Master interview, you are finding the areas which are still need to be brushed up. Yeah, you are finding the things which need to be enhanced, and you are exploring, is there a learning program or education program which can bridge that gap? Yeah, that's the thing. And the statement which is saying, I'm not coming from a development background, give me a sense that you might be finding some of the elements which are influenced by development background getting asked, getting discussed, or getting explored in the team, and you feel you need to improve there. Yeah, that's the whole understanding I have. Now, I would recommend make a list of those things which are confusing to you based on the job description or based on your interview experience, and then figure it out a development plan for them. You may not find a ready-made one certification which can take care of it. Probably knowing how development work happen. You not necessarily need to do it. Yeah, but you need to see the whole process of it, a feeling of it is something is useful. So if you can get an opportunity to work as a Scrum Master, that's a great thing. If not, you may take a mentoring or some facilitated process where someone can mentor you and show you the whole path, might be also useful. So if you are interested in mentoring, we do run those mentoring programs. You can drop us an email and we can help you in sensing, feeling, and getting a hold of how whole thing works, which can probably help you in positioning your profile as well. So pick up the list and then and start working on where we can where you have a gap in that areas. Yeah. Now, if you get into PMP certification, it again depends upon what is the gap area. Yeah. So the extension of the question. So the PMP certification can fill up the gap which is related to stakeholder engagement and appreciating the complex environment which is beyond one small agile team. Yeah. So say when you are working in the context, you need to take care of contract. You are working with multiple stakeholder. You need to take care of various kinds of reportings. You need to take care of various types of communication related to risk, related to quality. So you want to see the overall perspective of development. Yeah. So PMP certification can help you in that. So if you are finding that I'm lacking thinking and talking beyond a one team, talking about estimation, talking about contracting, talking about risk management, overall stakeholder engagement approaches, then it might be a good idea to go for PMP certification. Yeah. And we do have a Scrum Master interview series set of videos. So like many people asked about getting into a Scrum Master profile today, like PSM, CSM, and this particular question as well. So I do encourage you to check on our YouTube. We have a Scrum Master interview series. It has 70 plus videos. Some of them are detailed, some of them are short, but if you check them out maybe randomly, we don't have a particular sequence because each conversation is unique and complete in nature. So you check out as many you feel good, and that can also give you at least an understanding of what is needed from a Scrum Master job. You don't necessarily have to memorize those answers because there are not definitive answers. There is a probably my approach is I'm trying to show you the path to find the answer. Yeah, that's something you can explore in that particular case. Yeah, so check out the Scrum Master interview series videos. Yeah, all of you. Now the question coming is how to get a real-time experience as a Scrum Master. I think last week also we had this, some time back we were discussing it about project manager as well. So one of the easiest thing is that if you get it in your organization, so that's a good possibility if you can do that. Yeah, that's a good possibility. Assuming if you can't, then you need to explore. So if you are currently working, sometime you may have a flexibility in the organization where you can contribute more than your role. Yeah, that is something is possible. So if you get that, yeah, then go there. So say I am working as a developer or as a tester or whatever, yeah, but I know I can contribute little bit more than that because I have an aspiration to get into that role. I may start assisting my Scrum Master, or I may start learning about that role and try to volunteer myself in some of those opportunities. So that's the thing one can do in order to get a real-time experience as a Scrum Master. So you make yourself ready by taking those experience, and then you move forward to the next level of role. That's the one possibility. Assuming you are saying, I am not from Scrum background, I have studied Scrum, and I am not yet employed, or I am employed in a different work, yeah, which is not relating to what I want to do, and now I want to have a Scrum Master experience. Yeah. So this becomes little tricky because the challenge is that why someone should give you a Scrum Master experience, because how they get convinced that you will do a justice to their requirement or their job. So you need to demonstrate your capability before someone can give you a job of a Scrum Master. One of the possibilities, you enhance more and more skills which are needed to do as a Scrum Master, and then hope that someone will start giving you the opportunity to become a Scrum Master. We do run a mentoring program. It's a one-on-one based program where we can show you a little bit more detailed path. We can take you through step-by-step activities of a Scrum Master job, and that could be a possible alternative. And there could be some other mentoring programs like that as well. So that's one possibility to enhance some part of your skills, which probably add to your experience, and then possibly you can approach the Scrum Master as a leadership profile more. Yeah, so that's one can do. Thank you, Nuruddin, for sharing your kind words. Okay, good. If someone has follow-up questions, please feel free to drop comment.
Meanwhile, we are waiting for the follow-up question, Saket. I just wanted to share one thing. So I think couple of week back, you facilitated one user story workshop. So we are
Yeah.
getting a request again on those things. So the one thing, when this kind of user story workshop you're planning again in future, and is there any possibility of the same kind of workshop on the facilitation?
Yeah, we are thinking of all these things. We have a lot of topics in mind. One of them is user story, another is facilitation. I do think of doing some kind of safe education program as well. That's something also is in the pipeline. We do have a pipeline for doing on matrices as well. We want to do that thing as well. So we'll come up with this with that particular routine or a pattern soon. Doing user story repeat is relatively easy because everything is just ready. We just need to replicate it again. For me, doing user story as well as the scaled agile and facilitation, all three are relatively easy because I have been teaching here and there. Matrix may require a little bit of content creation because we don't have any of our program which is particularly specific on matrices. It's here and there in PMP. There are many in Scrum Master. There are many, but there's no one consolidated program talking about matrices. So yeah, we'll see. Probably something in February, early March, we should come up with one program at least. And the whole idea of those programs are they are non-certification. They are primarily helping you to get things mm, uh, moving. Yeah. Mm.
So, okay, I think we are in the last 9 minutes. So, guys, if you have any questions, you can post your questions, and I'll include your questions quickly. And yeah, so
Yeah,
I think we have one.
thank you, Vinila. And we have interesting question here as how one can stop using the word I in an interview. I understand we should not owning all the problem, but on us. But I think it's hard to not to use I in the interview. Yeah. So I think I keep talking about it sometimes when we look at our Scrum Master interview series videos. uh, so let's not try to not use it, but try to see what happens when I use, and what is the whole background of I. So if I'm talking to someone, yeah, and the person is a leadership role, and I ask him, how do you ensure that your stakeholders are happy? Yeah, so that's a question I put in. Now one thing is that one person who is answering is shows a story where that person is in the center of the whole process. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this, and I make stakeholder happy. That's the one answer. The another interview, the another candidate comes in and he focuses on, I make stakeholder happen by making my team engage it, by my stakeholder do this, by my ex guy do this. So what you are focusing on, you are taking your focus on triggering and facilitation rather than doing. So definitely when you are giving an interview, the person wants to know your role. That's something. But now how do you present your role? Your role is presented as an enabler, or your role is presented as a problem solver, as a instructor, as a savior all the time. Yeah. So that's the only difference, because the person wants to know about you. That's fairly clear. So when I get that visibility, I need to see how do I want to project myself. And I think be authentic as much you. There could be some situations where they need a problem solver only. So it is not a issue. You don't have to be always in a backseat only. But in general, as your leadership role starts growing, you might be doing some portion which is you doing it, whereas the other portion you are more focusing on enabling it. So how do you achieve customer satisfaction? I enable my team and stakeholder to have a healthy conversation which results into customer satisfaction. So I am triggering a conversation and collaboration, and the collaboration resulting into what you are asking for. Yeah, so that's something I am showing a little path forward, that okay, I am not the alone guy who is fixing this problem. I am creating the trigger and facilitating that part. So I think that probably can help you. And you reflect on taking some questions, maybe in a mock drill. Sometime when you are new in giving interview, it might be good to take some practice question to yourself, and may create multiple variant of answers, and then see which one is good, or really reflecting your thoughts. So creating that preparation is a good thing. Yeah, so that's something you can do. Initially, whenever I started making video, I had a rule that I need to do this video at least 7 times before it get it right. Yeah, so I may speak something in a first video, speak something else in the second video, speak something else in a third video on the same topic. Yeah, and then I figure it out, okay, which finally after fifth and sixth video I start settling down. Okay, this is how I can and handle this particular thing. Yeah. Okay, will PMP helps doing Scrum Master in any way? So the idea here is, if you stick to what is Scrum Master as per the Scrum guide, probably not. Yeah. But if you see the role of a Scrum Master in an organization, especially if the organization is working in a projectized environment, ideally the Scrum organization should not have projects also. They should work in a product line only. But if you work in a projectized organization, and whatever role you play, even if you play a role of a Scrum Master, then you need to know how to deal with projects, because projects has their own complications involved. The temporary nature, the billing, those all things comes along. And that temporary nature is something well explained in the PMP certification. So I'm primarily focusing on knowledge, and your recruiter, whoever is recruiting you, if they work in a projectized environment, they will expect someone can work in agile context inside the project. So that's something you can focus on. Okay, so how do you handle release in multiple teams developing same product? So it relates with I question again. Yeah, so how possibly you can handle the releases of a multiple teams? So you create a structure which facilitates common planning, common coordination, dependency management, which results in the releases of a multiple team. So if you can propose a structure which you might have worked with, or you can pick up some ideas from Scaled Agile, because Scaled Agile is primarily about this particular multi-team coordination space. We do have a 50 plus videos which can help you in understanding Scaled Agile, and that can help you in handling it. So probably, but overall, the idea here is, how do I explore the requirement together? How do we develop together, continuously integrate, ensure quality standards, having a knowledge of all the product in all the teams? So how do I facilitate requirement exploration? How do I facilitate development, which is an integrated manner? And then finally, how do I facilitate deployment and releases? So these are the four possible segments you need to focus on. Be it a one team, be it a multiple team, I need to find out how do I create mechanics of working together so that these things happen collaboratively. So safe way of doing is doing a common planning meeting, and then having frequent scrums and continuous integration. So you can pick up these words and a framework probably that can help you in satisfying the person who is asking the question. Okay, better way to start, say for CSM certificate, who is not from Agile or a Scrum area, ultimate goal is a project manager, definitely Certified Scrum Master. So Certified Scrum Master as CSM is the easy starting point. Reason being is, the SAFe becomes applicable when you are working in a multi-team context and you are using SAFe. So when you are little getting into an Agile thing, you want to start with a small team, you want to start small, and that's why I recommend looking at a Certified Scrum Master. Until unless your organization is already working in SAFe and they expect you to work in SAFe, in those contexts, better to focus in developing expertise in Scaled Agile framework, because that's a very good opportunity someone can be in. Okay, what will a Scrum Master do when client says he doesn't like what the team develops within a sprint and after the sprint? Yeah, so what do? The I question. Yeah, so you make sure we understand that feedback together along with the team. So there's an information. That's an information, and you alone cannot do anything about that information. So you and your team has received a feedback. You all own it. You can't just say, what do I do? This is a development team responsibility or accountability. That is also not the case. You need to own that, At the same time, you can't just say, next time you will not face this problem, I will fix it. You are not going to fix it. Your team can fix it. So I do things which makes people reflect on. You can think of doing a spatial retrospective, not necessarily a scheduled one. Even if during the sprint you got a feedback, you have a quick retrospective and try to find out what makes clients say something, say this thing. What is the current behind, yeah, and how can we possibly find out the more details about that like part, and how can we bring more alignment, because overall what we are doing, we are also want to deliver value, and at the same time client also want to get the value delivered early and often. That's the common purpose. So when we work on the common purpose, we need to find out the next path. If you are answering this question in interview, you can say, I will conduct a quick retrospective, and then we will work together, and we will find out what are the possible gaps. First, I will listen to the client as much I can. If I have an opportunity to get more details, I will get it. If I have an opportunity to make a client and team talk together, I do that. If I don't have those opportunities, then I need to collect as much information, and then as a team we will reflect on it, that how we can navigate to this situation together. Yeah, that's what I can say. I think we also approaching the finish time for today's session. Yeah.
Correct. And thank you very much, Gaurav. I'm
and
glad.
and, and all these sessions like Certified Scrum Master, SAFe, and all those agile coaching, or there is a ICF coaching program as well, and many program on safe space, all these are available in our skill eisenbridge.com. So you visit the website, you can find the recent schedule, you can connect with us on the WhatsApp as well. There are facility to connect back to us. Yeah, that's something you can do. Yeah. Yeah, so we have a question, Rudin, talking about, yes, yeah, I think it's good. If you have done program management, coaching, mentoring, facilitating, I think these are the core skills needed for a leadership role like Scrum Master. I think you are very near to it. The possible gap, as we were discussing before, is that just understanding the development life cycle, the whole development life cycle, how the requirement get explored, what do you put into the requirement, how it get what are the things happens in between. Some understanding and empathy in that area can help you in approaching and making the recruiter select you. That's a possible brushing up you can do. But in general, I see, if you it's just a matter of getting the right opportunity with a coaching, mentoring, and facilitating skill. I think one is good for a Scrum Master or a leadership job, and rest of the things one can learn along the way as well. So good. Great.
I
Yeah.
know we can
So
go on these topics, and sometimes it's difficult for me to say time's up. So we have to take care of time boxing as well.
great.
So,
Yeah.
guys, just store your questions, and if you have more questions, you can ask next week. We'll come up again next week, next Friday, same time, 7 p.m. IST. So, any last minute thoughts, Saket, would you like to share
I think it's
with
all
the
good.
visitors?
And one can also drop their question in our Eisenbridge website. We have a good chat support. Either those people will be able to answer then and there, or they will connect the appropriate person who can help you in the certification space. So that's something you can do that. And I think we have a WhatsApp support as well. So that's also a one possibility. You can drop your queries there. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can connect me over the LinkedIn. Just search Kumkum CSM CSPO. I'm the first person in the search. And yeah, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So immediately I'll answer your queries. But for now, it's time to say bye. Take care of yourself.
Thank
Stay
you.
inside,
Yeah.
stay safe, and we'll catch up
Thank you,
again
everyone.
next Friday. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you.